Chapter 5 Diagon Alley. Harry woke early the next morning. Although he could tell it was daylight, he kept his eyes shut tight. It was a dream, he told himself firmly. I dreamed a giant called Hagrid came to tell me I was going to a school. Happy Tuesday, Potterheads! This week we're talking about Chapter 5 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Diagon Alley. But before we jump into it, let's go to the recap. So Harry wakes up and he's worried that it was all a dream, but yay, Hagrid is still there. And then an owl shows up delivering a newspaper and he demands payment, and Harry's like, wow, the wizarding world is weird. And then Harry asks a lot of questions that lead to him thinking, wow, the wizarding world is weird. So then Harry opens up his list of things he needs to buy for school and he thinks, wow, the wizarding world is weird. And then he and Hagrid are traveling to London and Hagrid thinks, wow, the muggle world is weird. So then they show up in London and Harry finds out that there are magical things hidden underneath London. Then they go in the leaky cauldron and Harry finds out that he's famous. Then Harry meets Professor Quirrell and finds out that he's all stuttery and mumbly. And then Harry sees Diagon Alley for the first time and it's just like this. Wow! And Harry sees all these things that are amazing he's never heard of before. But first they have to go to Gringotts to get his money.
Where your Gringotts identification photo will be taken. Then, go directly to the office at the end of the corridor. From there, you will be escorted to the vaults.
So they go to Gringotts and Harry's like, wow, I'm rich. And then Harry tries to make some dumb small talk about stalagmites and stalactites. So then they stop at Harry's vault and get him some money. And then they go to Vault 713 and there's something mysterious inside. So then they split ways and Harry goes to Madame Malkin's and he meets Malfoy and he's like, wow, some kids in the wizarding world are total douchebags. So then they go and buy some more things and Hagrid buys Harry an owl. And then they go to Ollivander's.
We use unicorn hairs, phoenix tail feathers, and the heartstrings of dragons.
And Harry tries a bunch of different wands until Ollivander says, I wonder if this one. Harry grabs a wand, his fingers feel warm, and he raises the wand above his head, and a stream of red and gold sparks shoot from the end of it, and Ollivander's like, that's the one. And it turns out that the core of Harry's wand came from the same phoenix that gave only one other feather to the wand that gave him his scar. So they're done in Diagon Alley, and Hagrid says, hey, let's go get something to eat before you have to go back to the Muggles. And then they leave. So there's so many little details in this chapter. As you can imagine, that made it kind of difficult to come up with any one theme to talk about. I mean, even in my recap, I barely went over anything. This chapter is just so full of small little facts and details that J.K. Rowling is giving us about the wizarding world that it's difficult to even recap. So what we're going to do this week is something a little different that I hope you guys enjoy. Instead of taking a theme and looking at the chapter through that theme, or even really looking at a literary device in the way that she uses it, what I want to do this week is a little bit more research-based and a little bit more delving into the facts of the world. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the scene in Ollivander's when Harry's trying all these different wands. And we're going to use research from Pottermore. And we're going to look at why the wands that Harry tried didn't work for him. And why the Holly and Phoenix Feather wand probably did. So if you don't remember, go back and look at the book on pages 84 and 85. Mr. Ollivander is having Harry try all these different wands to see which wand is going to choose him. The book gives the details only 3 other wands that he uses. But it says that he tries a mountain, a pile starts building up. So first we'll start with research about my wand. This wand chose me in a choosing ceremony with me and my wife at Ollivander's in Diagon Alley. It is willow with a dragon heartstring core, 13 inches, swishy. What we'll do is we'll take a look at the core properties, we'll take a look at the wood properties, and we'll think about why this wand matched up for me, and maybe who else it might work for. And then we'll go through every wand that Harry tries, including his own, and see why the ones that didn't work for Harry didn't work, and why his did. So like I said, my wand is willow, dragon heartstring, 13 inches, swishy. The dragon heartstring core is said to be the most powerful and the most flamboyant. It produces the most flamboyant spells. It's also said to learn new spells more quickly than other cores. Now, a dragon heartstring wand can change allegiance if it's won from its original owner, but it tends to bond extremely strongly with its current owner. The dragon heartstring core is easiest to turn to the dark arts, but not of its own accord, and it is the most prone to accidents and is somewhat temperamental. Now, the wood of my wand is willow, and willow is an uncommon wand wood. The wand tends to have great powers of healing, and Ollivander has found that often the owner of a willow wand suffers from some sort of insecurity, but often that insecurity is unfounded. The willow wand can enable advanced nonverbal magic, has a handsome appearance, and it's said to select those of greatest potential rather than those who feel that they have little to learn. This is why I think my wand matches me really well. I'm a quick learner, and I like to take what I learn and help other people. I do tend towards insecurity and not trusting myself all the time, but I think I've proven throughout my life that I do show great potential sometimes. So I think this wand would work really well for people who are probably Gryffindors or Hufflepuffs. kind of like me. So the first wand that Harry tries is a beechwood wand with a dragon heartstring core, 9 inches flexible. So a beechwood wand is said to choose a wizard that is, if they're young, either wise beyond their years, or if they're older, is rich in experience. A beechwood wand will perform weakly for those who are narrow-minded or intolerant, and the wand is said to be capable of great subtlety and artistry in magic. Here's why I think it doesn't choose Harry. Poor sweet baby Harry. He is not wise beyond his years. He knows nothing. Dragon heartstring doesn't really also make sense for Harry's core because he's not a flamboyant person. And to be quite honest, spoiler alert, but his magic doesn't really become that powerful either. Like, he's not using complex stuff. Harry's allegiance is also not easily swayed. I would say that this wand, the beechwood and dragon heartstring, is probably best for wizards who like to show off. And I think it matches well with the traits of someone who is a Slytherin Ravenclaw combo. You know, I think it values someone who is really looking out for themselves and who's very ambitious and cunning and who likes to be seen as an elite wizard. The next one that Harry tries is a wand of maple and phoenix feather, is 7 inches and is whippy. Let's talk about the core. The phoenix feather core is said to be the rarest core. It produces the greatest range of magic, but may take the longest to learn. The phoenix feather wand shows the most initiative of any of the wands, sometimes acting of their own accord. Phoenix feather is also pickiest about its owners, and it's hardest to tame and personalize. A wand of maple is said to prefer wizards who are travelers and explorers. The maple wand prefers ambition in wizards, or else the magic becomes lacking. The maple wand needs challenges, and it needs change, and when it gets those things, it will literally shine. Here's why I think this wand doesn't choose Harry. This core is perfect, as we know if we read on, but the pairing with the wood is what makes it not make sense for Harry. Maple and phoenix sounds like a difficult wand that really doesn't have patience for a wizard who's starting from nothing. I think the phoenix needs a wizard of strong conviction, which Harry is, but the maple needs constant challenges and constant growth. So I don't think it would ever really choose a wizard who is literally starting out from ground zero. This wand to me sounds like it would probably choose someone who is a Gryffindor Ravenclaw combo. Someone who's always seeking out some new challenge to overcome and is always looking to learn and change. The next one that Harry tries is one of ebony and unicorn hair, 8.5 inches, springy. Let's talk about the core. Unicorn hair is said to produce the most consistent magic and is the least subject to fluctuations and blockages. Unicorn is also the most difficult to turn to the dark. Unicorn hair is the most faithful core and often stays attached to its original owner. Ebony wood wands have an impressive appearance and reputation and are said to be best suited for combative magic and transfiguration. An ebony wand is happiest with a wizard with the courage to be themselves. It's looking for someone who is nonconformist, who is an individual, and who is comfortable with being an outsider. And it's also looking for someone who will hold fast to their beliefs and not be easily swayed. This is why I think this one doesn't choose Harry. I think unicorn hair would probably be too fragile for what Harry is going to be facing later in his life. Additionally, I think its consistency may prove too easy for Voldemort to defeat. The wood doesn't really make much sense to me either. Harry doesn't even really know who he is, so how can he have the courage to just be himself? Harry is not comfortable as an outsider. He desperately wants to belong. This wand just doesn't make sense. This wand clearly to me makes sense for someone who is a Ravenclaw Hufflepuff combo. The last wand that Harry tries, made of holly with a phoenix feather core, is 11 inches long and is supple. Let's talk about the holly wood. Holly is a rare wood. It's very protective, and it often chooses those who need help overcoming anger or impetuosity. Holly also likes to choose owners who are engaged in a dangerous or spiritual quest. The performance of a holly wand can vary dramatically based on its core, and is notoriously difficult to pair with phoenix feather. But if paired, Ollivander does say this wizard is probably unstoppable. Here's why I think this wand does choose Harry. Harry in himself is extremely rare. He's the only person ever to have survived a killing curse. It says it has great protective powers, and Harry, as we know, will go on to protect many people, especially with the way the series ends in the books instead of the movie. Spoilers! Harry is obviously on a very dangerous quest, so of course the Holly Wand chooses him to protect him. We all see, don't get in Harry's way. I don't think this wand would be common to any one house or combo, but instead I think it would only choose the best in any house. Your Harry Potters, Cedric Diggory's, those kinds of people. So I hope that was interesting for you guys. I had fun doing the research on it. If you liked this and want to see more things like it in future chapters, please just let me know in the comments. Or if you thought this was boring and dumb and you didn't like it, please tell me that too. So now it's time for parenting with... Can you say... There's so much detail that's thrown at us in this chapter. There's not a lot of lessons to be learned. But I want to focus on one moment at the end of the chapter. Hagrid says this: "Don't you worry, Harry. You'll learn fast enough. Everyone starts at the beginning at Hogwarts. You'll be just fine. Just be yourself. I know it's hard. You've been singled out, and that's always hard. But you'll have a great time at Hogwarts. I did. Still do, as a matter of fact. And I think this is a wonderful moment of paternal love from Hagrid. I think Hagrid knows what it's like to feel singled out because he's half giant. And so I think Hagrid does a really important thing here. Instead of telling Harry, you're wrong, it's going to be okay, he goes, I know it's hard for you, but that doesn't mean you're going to have a bad time. And I think the thing that I'm taking away here is, I think often parents can choose to shove aside the things that their kids are feeling. But instead Hagrid chooses to engage with that and says, I understand. I empathize. So I guess that's my big takeaway here is empathy is important. And that's my take on parenting with I like it. And that's that. Thanks for watching this week's video. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you really like what we're doing here and want to follow along, please subscribe to the channel. Please share this with all of your friends. Tell them to subscribe. Tell them to share it with all their friends. I really want the world to see what we're doing here together. Your assignment for next week, we're going to jump right back into reading 2 chapters. We're going to read chapters 6 and 7. That's the Journey from Platform 9 3/4 and the Sorting Hat. So make sure you read those 2 chapters before next Tuesday. And please don't forget that every Thursday I post videos talking about my journey to lose weight and get healthier. Thank you so much for watching, and until next Tuesday, happy reading. Knox!